Breaking the law, breaking the law. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird how your brain just does random crazy things? You guys remember that song? I'm not saying it right, but it's like, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law. You guys remember that song? Some of you that are around my age, you know what I'm talking about. Others of you think I'm probably a crazy lunatic. And if this is your first time here, then yeah, that's probably pretty interesting. I should probably not do that at the very beginning. What I should probably do at the very beginning, in case it is your first time here, is I should probably say, hey, my name is Glenn and I'm your friend. I woke up at 3:40 this morning, went out of my room, grabbed my large purple cup, filled it up with ice and water, made my way downstairs to the studio, put on my headphones, listened to music with no words because I don't want to be influenced by the outside world in that magical time that is the first hour of the day. Went downstairs, grabbed my Morning 5 planner, which is the planner I use every single day to track my Morning 5 simple steps to an extraordinary life, to write down my gratitude, to write down my goals, and to map out my day. I grabbed my Morning 5 planner, and at the top right corner of the Morning 5 planner, every single day, there's a quote that is actually submitted by members of our community. Now, this isn't their quote, it's their favorite quote. So it's someone else's quote, but the people of our community submit their favorite quote, and we print them in our planners, which is amazing because it's an opportunity for us to connect energetically. Even if we might be around the world, we might be on opposite sides of the planet, we're able to connect through this shared moment. The word, the power of words, right? And so this morning I read the quote submitted by Wendy Reeves. And the quote says this: the essence of greatness is the ability to choose personal fulfillment in circumstances where others choose madness. And so I read this quote this morning. I'm like, it's a little early for this, Wendy. That's a deep philosophical thought for 3:40 in the morning. Let me go back to it. The essence of greatness is the ability to choose. I love that word, choose. Personal fulfillment. My personal fulfillment. Glenn Lundy's personal fulfillment in circumstances where others choose madness. So as I read this, I was like, oh, okay, wait a minute. What I do every day by waking up at 3:40 in the morning is a perfect example of this. You see, I have been able to, thankfully, starting back January of 2008, I started doing this show, this crazy show called #Rise and Grind. Just started going live 5:30 in the morning, wanted to make a difference, wanted to create a space that was motivational, educational, and inspirational. And by doing so, I was able to, what's up? Oh, it's midday in Tanzania. Tasha's in Tanzania. In doing so, I've become excellent at it. I'm not being like that's not ego, that's not any of those things. I've just put in the reps. And so for me, waking up at 3:40 in the morning and doing all the things that I normally do and going through it, it's just a system, man. It's just routine. But for others, dude, that's madness. Madness. Waking up at 3:40, madness. I hear it on not quite the daily, but very often. Hi, Amy Hitch. Thanks for being here. What's up, Destiny Walters? How you doing, Debbie Dowling Waba? But I hear it often. They're like, Glenn, you're crazy. How can you do that? How can you only sleep 4 hours a night? That's insane. You can't sustain that. It's impossible. It's impossible. Waking up that early, impossible. Oh my gosh, you're a lunatic. You're crazy. Like, I'll set up flights for my team. I'll set up flights for 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m. They're like, oh my God, how am I going to catch a flight at 5:30 in the morning? I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? 5:30 in the morning, I've already been up for 2 hours. And so Wendy's quote made me think of that. The essence of greatness, right? Which Grant Cardone, my friend Grant Cardone, was just on a show called Daily Dealer Live with the car dealership guy media network. And Grant Grant was on that show and he was talking about excellence is the only thing that pays, right? He was like, you can be not good, you can be good, or you can be excellent. Only one of those three things pays, which is being excellent, right? And so I love it. The essence of greatness is the ability to choose personal fulfillment. I personally find personal fulfillment waking up at 3:40 in the morning, putting together a show and hanging out with you, where other people see it as chaos and madness. I guess what I'm trying to say first thing this morning for you is there might be gold in them there hills if you travel to the hills that them there friends of yours would never travel into. Good morning and welcome to the #1 morning show in America. I am your host, Glenn Lundy, husband to 1, father to 9, author, speaker, and the founder of 800%.life. It's 5:30 a.m. and it's time to rise and grind. Yo, we did it, ladies and gentlemen. We did it. 2020-ish episodes. I think this is episode 2018 or something like that. Trisha's tracking that for me. But we did it. We got Sarah Taco Ball back. Let's go, Sarah. Yeah! We got Sarah back in the building. You guys remember Sarah. She's so amazing. I love Sarah. Sarah, I'm so glad you're back. Good morning. How are you, my friend? Dude, that's right, today is Wednesday, a.k.a. CMA Day, Carter Myers Automotive Group, the most amazing automotive group on the planet. Today is Wednesday, CMA Day, July 8th, 2026. And what's crazy is today is the very first and the very last time it'll ever be Wednesday, July 8th, 2026. So I want to make sure we make the absolute most, and I do mean the absolute most, of this absolutely incredible day. I'm coming to you live from Lexington, Kentucky, where it's supposed to be 80-something and muggy again today. That's what we've been experiencing, which is A-okay, because we are on the backside of the 4th of July celebration. Independence Day went off with a bang this year in the Lundy house. We had our big 4th of July celebration. That was just absolutely incredible, over the top, amazing, spectacular, all of those things. But on the backside of celebrating Independence Day, I decided that this week we would ask a simple question that has turned out to be anything but simple. And the question is, are we truly independent? We're celebrating Independence Day, but are we truly independent? And earlier in the week, we broke down, what does that mean? Independence is the freedom from outside control, support, or authority. Personal independence includes things like financial independence, emotional independence, and ultimately the capacity to take care of yourself and manage your own life. So this week, we've gone a little bit down the rabbit hole. We decided we were going to take the red pill, not the blue pill. And so Monday, we talked about the possibility that many of the thoughts that we call our own may actually be programs we've inherited in our DNA. Yesterday, we explored how entire cultures, families, schools, experiences, even success itself can shape the operating system that is running quietly beneath the surface of our lives. But this morning, we're going to take a sharp turn, my friend. I hope you're ready, because even with that powerful question that has opened up incredible conversations so far this week, I think we may still be asking the wrong question. Because I'm like, maybe the question isn't, am I the one making my own decisions? But maybe a deeper question is like, who am I making these decisions for? You ever thought about that? Like, not what are you doing? Not whether you chose to do it or not, but who's the audience? Who is the audience that you are making your decisions for? Because interestingly enough, every single one of us has one, right? Every single one of us has an audience in our mind that is watching our moves, that is judging our moves, that is making decisions about us, whether that audience be a spiritual audience, a physical audience, whether that audience be like our parents. Our audience might be classmates, people we went to school with, grew up with, that now we call them friends. Maybe our audience is our competitors in the auto industry. We're always looking at our competitors. What do they think about us? What are they saying about us? Maybe the audience is complete strangers scrolling through social media. Maybe that's the audience that you're making decisions for. We might hit a nerve on that one. Because I know many of you, and I hear this all the time, well, I don't know what to post. I don't want to post the same thing. I don't want people to get mad about this. I don't want people to say this about me. I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I don't want people to get the wrong opinion. I don't want people to, they just see that I keep posting the same things. Or I don't want people to see me under this light. Or I don't want to see people to see me without this filter. Well, who are these people? Just strangers. Maybe the audience in your mind is someone who doubted you 20 years ago, that put a chip on your shoulder. Maybe it's nobody in particular. Maybe the audience is just like people in general. And isn't it amazing how much energy we will spend performing for people we don't even know? I think it's crazy. So we're going to dive in on this a little bit today. Before we get too far, though, let's talk about this. Let's do this. Let's do some dancing. You want to do some dancing? Here, let's do this. There we go. Yeah, let's get jiggy with it. Before we go too far, let's do some dancing on this show. Does that sound fair? Let's get our bodies in motion. Because an object in motion tends to stay in motion. And an object at rest tends to stay at rest. So let's get these bodies moving. Is that fair? This is also the part of the show where I need you to hit that share button. That's right. I need you to hit that share button because I believe if we can change the way people start their day, it'll make a massive impact on this planet. I truly believe that. And sometimes all it takes to change the way somebody starts their day is for you, yes, you, to hit that share button. Last but not least, this is the part of the show where I want to say good morning to you, and I want you to say good morning to me. Whether you're watching this show live, or you're watching this show on replay, or you're watching this show on YouTube, or you're listening to the podcast, I need you to say what's up, and I'll say what's up back. Tosh Queen, good morning to you. Thank you for being here. Don Sankey is in the building. Thanks for being here, Don Sankey. I greatly appreciate you. Sarah, Taco, Ball, honor, privilege, pleasure. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. Valerie Stone is in the building. Thanks for being here, Valerie Stone. Robert Downey. Good morning, Mr. Downey. Thanks for being here. I greatly appreciate it. Mike Rendine is in the building this morning. How you doing, Mike? Great to see you. Debbie Darling Waba, let's go, is in the building. Good morning, Debbie Darling Waba. Let's get it. Tosh, you're in Tanzania. Thanks for joining us from all the way on the other side. I appreciate that. Nathaniel Banks is in the building this morning. Spencer Nicholson is in the building this morning. Good morning. Kurt McFarland, what up? Sugar Lips is in the building. That's right. Kurt McFarland, Sugar Lips is in the building. Scott Simons, your biggest supporters are people you typically hardly know. Very true, Scott Simons, very true. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Ramona Rogers Smith is in the building. Robert Downey is in the building. Michael Barrick, what's up, my man? Mike Larkin is in the building. Let's go. Robin Wilshans is in the building. Hey, check it out. I'm super excited to have you here with me today. We're going to continue to dive in. An incredible episode of Hashtag Rise and Grind. Tomorrow morning, if you're a prayerful person, I need a little bit of help from you. Gene Hughes is in the building, and I'll talk about it again tomorrow morning. But we have a racehorse, and he is scheduled to run his very first race tomorrow. He's going to be running his very, very, very first race. He's going to be traveling today as he makes his way over to the track. He's going to stay the night at the track, and then tomorrow we're going to take him out there and see what we've got. It's a fascinating story, and I'll go into it in more detail down the road. But if you could just pray for safe travels, a smooth experience, and a learning, all the learning that we can learn as we go on this journey. I would greatly appreciate it. All the good vibes, all the good vibes. All right, check it out. Let's keep going on this week's series, Truly Independent. Have you ever walked through the airport and just like watched people? I do this all the time. I'm in airports all over the place. I'll be in an airport tomorrow, as a matter of fact. But have you ever just been in an airport or a place where there's a ton of people and you just watch, right? Like thousands of people. And everyone is moving along with purpose. Everyone is carrying their bags. Everyone is checking their phones. Everyone is rushing around. And when they're doing that, it's interesting, dude. I will sit back sometimes and I will just find myself wondering, like, how many of these people are actually living a life they genuinely enjoy? Because some of them don't look like they are. Some of them do not look like they're necessarily enjoying their at least that moment in the airport, which I understand airports can be stressful. But I'll ask myself that question, right? How many of these people are actually living a life that they enjoy? How many of these people are living the life they think that they're supposed to want versus the life that they really want? Like, I know I'm a little weird. I know I get a little matrixy on you, but sometimes I'll just sit in my own thoughts and I'll think, like, how many of these people, I'm in the car business, so I think about like people buying cars all the time, and it's like, how many of these people bought the car that they drive because they love it? Versus how many people bought the car that they drive because of what it says about them when they pull into a parking lot, when somebody else sees them in it. Like, how many, and maybe like think about it yourself this morning. How many like, did you buy the car that you have now because of the status it would bring, or did you buy the car that you drive now because you love it? Like, I drive trucks now, and I used to like have to have, like, I used to drive purple Hellcats, blue Hellcats. Like, I used to have the loudest, most obnoxious, most powerful, colorful vehicles in the world. I totally used to buy those types of cars because it made me feel a certain way, and I felt like people saw me a certain way, if I'm being honest. Whereas now, like, I drive trucks, dude. I love my truck. I love my truck and what it can do for me and my family, right? And so I sit there in the airport and I'll think about things like that. I'm like, how many of these people that I'm sitting next to on this airplane that are doing business or whatever, how many of them chose this career because it really like brought them to life, versus how many of them chose this career because it sounds impressive when they talk to their friends that they used to go to school with, or their family member, their parent. I know in Asian culture, it's like you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, or no, Indian culture, right? It's like you're a doctor or a lawyer, you're a failure. And so how many of them become doctors and lawyers because their parents wanted them to, not because it's really what they wanted to do, right? Like, how many people in the airport are literally chasing their dreams versus how many people in the airport are chasing the approval of someone else? Because these are two very, very, very different pursuits. One will fill your soul. When you chase your dream, whether you get there, don't get there, achieving or not achieving, whether it's a positive experience or a negative experience, whether you're up or whether you're down, it will fill your soul. Whereas the other one, chasing someone else's dream or vision for you, dude, you'll never be satisfied. You will never be satisfied. You know, one of my favorite stories that I've never talked about here on this show before, one of my favorite stories comes from a man that most people have never heard of. And his name was Diogenes. And he lived over 2,000 years ago. He was known as Diogenes the Cynic. He was an ancient Greek philosopher, right? He co-founded the Cynic school of philosophy, and he became legendary for his radical wit and blatant disregard for societal norms. Like, he was blatant about it. And people thought that Diogenes was completely crazy. He owned almost nothing. Some say he lived in a barrel, right? He had no mansion, he had no fortune, he had no title. He had just enough to live. And he had these philosophies, right? His core philosophical ideas were to live in accordance with nature. He argued that true happiness requires fulfilling only natural needs, autonomy and self-sufficiency, right? Shamelessness. He regularly performed private acts in public. He would eat in the marketplace and urinate or defecate to show that harmless natural action should not cause shame. A lot of people thought he was crazy, and maybe he was. But one day, the most powerful man on earth at the time, Alexander the Great comes to visit him, right? And I just want you to imagine this scene, right? The ruler of an entire empire goes to visit this dude who's just walking around shamelessly, pooping in the corner at times. This guy, Alexander the Great, he's the conqueror of nations. He's standing before a man who owns nothing, who owns almost nothing. And Alexander looks at Diogenes and he says to him, "Ask me for anything you want and I will give it to you." Imagine, how would you respond to that right now? If Elon Musk, the trillionaire, the first trillionaire comes to you and says, "Ask for anything you want and I'll give it to you." Unlimited wealth, unlimited power, anything you want. And Diogenes looks up at him, he smiles, and he says, "Yes, I do want something. Would you mind stepping over a little bit because you're blocking my sunlight?" That's it. That's all he wanted. The only thing the most powerful man in the world possessed that he wanted was 6 feet of shade. Now, Alexander the Great is quoted as saying, after this happened, he is quoted as saying, "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." You see, we've been taught that independence comes from having more money, more followers, more influence, more square footage, more recognition, more. But what if dependence doesn't begin when you have too little? What if the dependence that you have in your life begins the moment you need everyone else to approve of what you have? You see, there's an old story. Many of you have maybe heard it as a child. This is the story of the emperor's new clothes. Do any of you know that story? Just in case you don't know it, I'm going to play it for you. You ready? The emperor's new clothes. Check this story out.
A long time ago, in a distant kingdom, there lived a foolish emperor. He only cared about changing clothes every day, was obsessed with gorgeous clothes, and disdained governing the country. One day, 2 swindlers came to the kingdom. They claimed to be excellent tailors who could make a magical new dress for the emperor. This dress can only be seen by sages, not fools. The emperor was very excited when he heard the idea. He thought, if only smart people can see this dress, then he can definitely prove that he is a smart emperor. The two swindlers received the money from the emperor, but they did not make clothes at all. They just pretended to work, getting something for nothing. The emperor sent ministers to check the progress of the new clothes. The ministers saw that the two swindlers got something for nothing, and they were puzzled and suspicious. The two swindlers pretended to be serious and told the ministers that only saints could see the clothes. They implied that if the ministers could not see it, it would be a proof of stupidity. Although the ministers saw nothing, they dared not admit it. They did not want to be considered stupid, so they also pretended to see the new clothes. The emperor came to inspect the progress of the new clothes in person. Although he saw nothing, he did not dare to admit it. He did not want others to think he was a stupid emperor. The tricks of the two swindlers spread throughout the kingdom. People talked about it and wanted to know what this magical new dress looked like. A little boy boldly told the truth. He naively asks why the emperor is naked and has no clothes on. Under the boy's question, people finally see the truth. They realize that the emperor has been deceived and has no new clothes at all. The emperor feels extremely embarrassed and does not want to admit that he has been deceived. He insists that he is wearing new clothes and continues the parade. The emperor parades naked in the streets, and people talk about it. Some people dare not tell the truth, while others laugh at the emperor's stupidity. In the parade, the brave little boy stood up again and spoke out the truth loudly. He was not afraid of being laughed at and insisted on speaking his mind. Infected by the little boy's courage, more and more people dared to tell the truth. People finally saw the emperor's stupidity and the tricks of the liar. The two liars were scared to run away when they saw the truth was exposed. They did not dare to face the angry people and hurriedly fled the kingdom. The emperor finally realized his stupidity and bowed his head in shame. He realized that he only cared about changing clothes and neglected to govern the country, and finally understood what was most important. With the emperor's efforts, the kingdom changed. He began to care about the lives of the people and seek their welfare, and the kingdom became more prosperous and powerful.
So listen, we got a kingdom full of intelligent adults that convinced themselves they saw clothes that weren't actually there. Why? Why did they do that? Because nobody wanted to be the first person to look foolish. Nobody wanted to risk standing apart from the crowd. It took a child to simply say, hey, the emperor's naked. The child wasn't any smarter. The child wasn't any more educated. The child wasn't more experienced. The child just hadn't learned to fear everyone else's opinion yet. You see, that's independent thought when you don't fear anyone else's opinion. It's not about intelligence. It's courage. You know, something I've noticed over the years is that when I was broke, I really wanted rich people to notice me. Now that I've had a little bit more success, I've realized that many successful people, they're just trying to impress even more successful people. And then I've met some billionaires, like people whose wealth is like nearly impossible to comprehend, and some of them, they're still trying to impress somebody else, bro. Like, what's crazy is these prisons we make in our minds, they don't always disappear. Sometimes it just becomes a more expensive prison. Like the cars get nicer, the watches cost more, right? But if your identity still depends on someone else's applause, then guess what? You're still performing. You're just on a bigger stage. You're not free, bro. You're not truly independent just because you have financial freedom. You're not independent, truly independent, because you're You're able to move left and move right and sway in whatever direction it is that you want to sway if you're only doing that in a response to the audience that you have in your head that you're seeking approval from. You see, one of the reasons Jesus continues to fascinate me, and I just study his moves every single day, is because he seemed like completely uninterested in performing. Anybody else notice that? Like, he had the opportunity to step on any stage. Everywhere he went, people would cling to his robes and gather around him, right? Like thousands and thousands of people followed Jesus. There were crowds everywhere he went. If he lived today, we would probably measure his success by followers, engagement, and reach. How many followers would Jesus's TikTok account have, right? But what did he do, man? Jesus regularly walked away from the crowds. He would disappear into quiet places. There's stories of him healing people and then literally telling them not to tell anybody that he healed them. Like, could you imagine that in today's world? Like, hey, I know I just made you, like, you were blind and now you're not blind anymore, but I need you to do me a favor. Like, don't post about that. Don't post. Don't tag me. Like, let's just keep that between me and you, that you were blind for 40 years and now you can see. Let's just keep it between me and you that you couldn't walk and were crippled for a lifetime and now you can walk. Definitely don't take the selfie. Definitely don't make the post. Don't tell nobody. Could you imagine that? You see, and that's because Jesus was not interested in building a personal brand. All he was doing was fulfilling his purpose. And those two things are not the same thing. A personal brand and fulfilling purpose are not the same thing. The crowds wanted spectacle, but instead Jesus chose substance that would actually make an impact in their lives. The crowd wanted a king, royalty. Instead, Jesus chose a cross. The crowd wanted certainty. Instead, he invited them to very uncomfortable spaces that led to transformation. And see, that's what independence looks like. It's not rebellion, it's just clarity. And so as I get older, which I'm excited about, as I get older, I'm becoming more and more convinced that one of the greatest freedoms a human being can experience is this: to stop living as a performance. To stop measuring your worth by applause, to stop checking whether the crowd approves before you take your next step. Because here's the truth: the crowds are going to change, culture's going to change, trends are going to change, opinions are going to change, but your purpose, the thing that you were uniquely designed for, created for as a child of God, purpose doesn't change. So maybe, just maybe, true independence is not asking, oh, can I do whatever I want? Maybe it's asking, would I still become this person if nobody ever knew my name? Would I still love my family this way if no one else would ever know about it? Would I still pursue excellence in this way if there was no one there to celebrate it? There was no reward at the end. Would I still chase truth the way I chase the truth if the audience in my mind didn't approve, if no one ever applauded? Would I still become who I believe I was created to become? Because if the answer to that is yes, then maybe, just maybe, you're finally becoming truly independent. If the answer is no, come back tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. because we still have some work to do. Does that sound fair? Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for hanging out with me here on #Rise and Grind, your daily morning show, bringing you motivation, education, and inspiration, 5:30 a.m. Monday through Friday. I'll be back again Tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m., we'll do it all over again. If nobody's told you yet today, I want to be the first. I absolutely stinking love you. I do. I really do. So go out there, have an incredible day, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. We'll do it all over again right here on #Rise and Grind. Peace. That's pretty amazing, Sarah. Amazing, and it's amazing having you here. What's up, Scott Holbert? Thanks for popping in. Tyler Weimer, what's up, Tyler? Great to see you, sir. We're just wrapping up for today. Hope you'll come back tomorrow morning. All right, Linnell, you have an incredible day. Miss Linnell Burns. I love you, friend. You're amazing. Let's go, Kurt. Come on, man.